Ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation Director, Kash Patel, right behind, in this photo here, in this video here, Trey Gowdy interrogating or asking questions of John Brennan, the former Central Intelligence Agency Director. Now, John Brennan almost certainly committed perjury numerous times. Okay, that's why Pam Bondi ordered a grand jury probe, releasing information that Tulsi Gabbard released pertaining to John Brennan, mischaracterizing intelligence, misleading lawmakers. There are 12 references to Brennan in Tulsi Gabbard's declassified documents. 12 references right here in the initial release, press release. But the whole thing is about Brennan, specifically Brennan, Comey, Clapper, and others who set up and framed Trump and lied to lawmakers. They literally fabricated intelligence. They made it up. It was like Dungeons and Dragons for deranged, apoplectic, wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats. They made it up, and they created, like, Trump was this orange dragon, and they were all these different characters in Dungeons and Dragons, and Clapper and Brennan and Comey created this world where Russia wanted Trump because Clinton would have been tough on Russia, just like Biden was when they invaded and caused so much havoc under Biden and under Bush and under President Obama. Okay, the Russians weren't afraid of anyone, especially not Democrats. Unfortunately, they were not afraid, or they didn't respect Democrats and Biden. That's why you had the catastrophe that took place under Biden's administration. Okay, but they created, Brennan and others fabricated a complete hoax, a Red Scare McCarthy era hoax. These are from liberals who learned in high school that, oh, by the way, the McCarthy era Red Scare was terrible, except when you frame and set up Trump because you lost miserably in 2016 after cheating Bernie Sanders and having classified data fly around, so much so Comey had to write the Comey letter on secret private servers. But anyway, hit subscribe, watch this. Numerous examples of perjury I will point out, but if you're watching right now, point it out. Do you think there's perjury in the comments section? Check this out.
The next question to include the inception, dependency, up until your very last day at the CIA. Did you see evidence of collusion, coordination, conspiracy between Donald Trump and Russian state actors?
I saw information and intelligence that was worthy of investigation by the Bureau to determine whether or not such cooperation or conclusion was taking place.
That doesn't help us a lot. What was the nature of the information?
As I said, Mr. Gowdy, I think this committee now has access to the type of information that I'm alluding to here. It's classified, and I'm happy to talk about it in classified session.
And that would have been directly between the candidate and Russian state actors?
That's not what I said. I'm not going to talk about any individuals.
But that was my question, and you answered it, and you didn't answer it that way.
No, I responded to your query. I'm not going to respond to particular elements of your question because I think it would be inappropriate for me to do so here. So I can only repeat what I said, which is that I was aware of intelligence and information about contacts between Russian officials and U.S. persons that raised concerns in my mind about whether or not those individuals were cooperating.
Okay, he's still committing perjury here, even though he's parsing his words and everything's a deposition with, Clapper, Brennan, Comey. They're all in deposition mode. He's deceiving lawmakers into thinking that, well, in the classified section, in the classified hearing, because he can't possibly tell the American people what's classified about the Steele dossier purchased by Clinton and all the other attempts at setting up and framing Trump. The fact that Trump was exonerated in the initial intelligence report that Tulsi Gabbard talked about, there was literally not one shred of evidence that Trump ever worked with Russia. You would have to be a complete and utter imbecile or a distraught, indignant, angry liberal Democrat who wanted retribution after they lost miserably in 2016. And so there was not a shred of evidence. They fabricated literally everything. and any contacts that could have taken place. The uranium deal had a million times more suspicious in terms of contacts or legal repercussions in terms of contacts and intelligence failures. So you can go into that. 20% of U.S. uranium capacity that eventually the Russians controlled under President Obama, and all of these people in some way, shape, or form were involved. And so that's just one example. And Democrats will say, oh, nothing happened there. But it's like, well, wait a second. You allow that type of thing with donations to the foundation and shady individuals. You're okay with that. And then you're worried about a Steele dossier purchased by Hillary Clinton to set up and frame Trump, to deceive the American public into thinking that Trump was catapulted into the Oval Office by Putin when he then invades when Biden's in office. And so this is an attempt at deception, which is perjury. He deliberately lied about well, I can't tell you. It has to be in a classified hearing. If you only knew what I knew. This is the alibi of Comey and Clapper and Brennan. If you only knew what I knew, you would understand why we investigated Trump, which was a setup, a pure setup.
With the Russians, either in a witting or unwitting fashion, and that served as the basis for the FBI investigation to determine whether such collusion, cooperation occurred.
All right. Well, there are a bunch of words that start with C floating around. I asked you about collusion, coordination, and conspiracy, and you used the word contact. And I think in a previous answer, you did a really good job of establishing that contact could be benign or not benign. So was it contact that you saw? Was it something more than contact? What is the nature of what you saw?
I saw interaction and aware of interaction that, again, raised questions in my mind about what was the true nature of it. But I don't know. I don't have sufficient information to make.
He knew his agents, the Central Intelligence Agency, has billions upon billions of dollars. They have probably more intelligence at their disposal, more information at their disposal than the Federal Bureau of Investigation or any other government agency. He knew exactly what was going on. And he was parsing his words and being ambiguous and vague to further a conspiracy. This is perjury. This is not, you can't say, well, he didn't commit perjury there. It's like, yes, he did. He intentionally lied. He intentionally deceived. And this was all part of an effort to conspire. This is not even the worst of it. Comey and Clapper have testimony that's just as incriminating.
Make a determination whether or not such cooperation or complicity or collusion was taking place. But I know that there was a basis to have individuals pull those threads.
Oh, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you saw something that led you to refer it to law enforcement. And in your judgment, it is up to law enforcement to test, probe, corroborate, contradict, otherwise investigate the full nature of that information you passed on. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes, it is, because it's not CIA's job to make a determination about whether a U.S. person is cooperating, colluding, or whatever in some type of criminal or illegal matter. It is our responsibility to give the Bureau everything that they need in order to follow that path. And
wrong. That's part of the conspiring against Trump, 18 U.S. Code 371. Wrong. It was not the Bureau. This was not the CIA's responsibility to give the FBI a Steele dossier on Trump or any hunch or confidence assessment that maybe the Kremlin and the Ruskies wanted Trump. That was completely absurd. And it was not his role to pass the conspiracy to Comey, to have Comey investigate Trump in a criminal probe based on complete and utter fabrication. So he implicates James Comey here. He says, look, we just wanted, he can then in a court of law say, well, I didn't want Trump imprisoned. I had no determination as to whether or not he should even be investigated. I just wanted to give it to James Comey and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. See, the ball was in their court. I just had a hunch. Meanwhile, the dossier and Tulsi Gabbard and Pam Bondi giving a grand jury all that information that was classified and secret prior. Hit subscribe. Thank you so very, very much.